Hey folks, it's that time again. Sorry, time to dust the Chromebook too. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday morning, TGIFers. Chapter 33, The Hotel Concert. Put on your white organdy by all means, Anne advised Diana decidedly. They were together in the east gable chamber. Outside it was only twilight, a lovely yellowish green twilight with a clear blue, cloudless sky. A big round moon, slowly deepening from her pallid luster into burnished silver, hung over the haunted wood. The air was full of sweet summer sounds. Sleepy birds twittering, freakish breezes, faraway voices and laughter. But in Anne's room, the blind was drawn and the lamp lighted, for an important toilet was being made. When they say that, they mean they're fixing up, I reckon. The east gable was a very different place from what it had been on that night 4 years before, when Anne had felt its bareness penetrate to the marrow of her spirit with its inhospitable chill. Changes had crept in, Marilla conniving at them resignedly until it was as sweet and dainty a nest as a young girl could desire. The velvet carpet with the pink roses and the pink silk curtains of Anne's early visions had certainly never materialized, but her dreams had kept pace with her growth, and it's not probable that she lamented them. The floor was covered with a pretty matting, and the curtains that softened the high window and fluttered in the vagrant breezes were of pale green art muslin. The walls hung not with gold and silver brocade tapestry, but with a dainty apple blossom paper. Were adorned with a few good pictures given Anne by Mrs. Allen. Miss Stacy's photograph occupied the place of honor, and Anne made a sentimental point of keeping fresh flowers on the bracket under it. Tonight a spike of white lilies faintly perfumed the room like a dream of a fragrance. My favorite flower are lily of the valley, but these are just regular lilies, I guess. There was no mahogany furniture, but there was a white painted bookcase filled with books, a cushioned wicker rocker, a toilet table befrilled with white muslin, a quaint gilt-framed mirror with chubby pink cupids and purple grapes painted over its arched top that used to hang in the spare room, and a low bed. Anne was dressing for a concert at White Sands Hotel. The guest had got it up in aid of the Charlottetown Hospital and had hunted out all the available amateur talent in the surrounding districts to help it along. Bertha Sample and Pearl Clay of the White Sands Baptist Choir had been asked to sing a duet. Milton Clark of Newbridge was to give a violin solo. Anne Adela Blair of Carmody was to sing a Scotch ballad, and Laura Spencer of Spencerdale and Anne Shirley of Avonlea were to recite. As Anne would have said at one time, it was an epoch in her life, and she was deliciously athrill with the excitement of it. Matthew was in the seventh heaven of gratified pride over the honor conferred on his Anne, and Marilla was not far behind, although she would have died rather than admit it, and said she didn't think it was very proper for a lot of young folks to be gadding over to the hotel without any responsible person with them. Anne and Diana were to drive over with Jane Andrews and her brother Billy in their double-seated buggy, and several other Avonlea girls and boys were going too. There was a party of visitors expected out from town, and after the concert a supper was to be given to the performers. "Do you really think the organdy will be best?" queried Anne anxiously. "I don't think it's as pretty as my blue flowered muslin, and it certainly isn't so fashionable." But it suits you ever so much better, said Diana. It's so soft and frilly and clinging. The muslin is stiff and makes you look too dressed up, but the organdy seems as if it grew on you. Anne sighed and yielded. Diana was beginning to have a reputation for notable taste in dressing, and her advice on such subjects was much sought after. She was looking very pretty herself on this particular night in a dress of the lovely wild pink rose from which Anne was forever debarred, but she was not able to take any part in the concert, so her appearance was of minor importance. All her pains were bestowed upon Anne, who, she vowed, must, for the credit of Avonlea, be dressed and combed and adorned to the Queen's taste. Ooh, I got the dry mouth. Today at chat, I got to show you my cause box. I think I mentioned it yesterday. These are just 2 things that came in it. I also showed you the scarf yesterday. I had around my neck. Looked like I was getting ready for a feed or something. Anyway, I can't wait to show that. Okay. Pull out that frill a little more. So here, let me tie your sash. Now for your slippers, I'm going to braid your hair in 2 thick braids and tie them halfway up with big white bows. No, don't pull out a single curl over your forehead. Just have the soft part. There's no way you do your hair suits you so well, Anne, and Mrs. Allen says you look like a Madonna when your part is so. I shall fasten this little white house rose just behind your ear. There was just one on my bush, and I saved it for you. Shall I put my pearl beads on? Asked Anne. Matthew brought me a string from town last week, and I know he'd like to see them on me. Diana pursed up her lips, but put her black head on one side critically, and finally pronounced in favor of the beads, which were thereupon tied around Anne's slim, milk-white throat. There's something so stylish about you, Anne, said Diana with envious admiration. You hold your head with such an air. I suppose it's your figure. I'm just a dumpling. I've always been afraid of it. And now I know it is so. Well, I suppose I shall just have to resign myself to it. But you have such dimples, said Anne, smiling affectionately into the pretty vivacious face so near her own. Lovely dimples, like little dents in cream. I have given up all hope of dimples. My dimple dream will never come true, but so many of my dreams have that I mustn't complain. Am I all ready now? The beads. Hang on, shall I put them finally pronounced? Am I all ready now? Already, assured Diana, as Marilla appeared in the doorway, a gaunt figure with grayer hair than of yore, and no fewer angles, but with a much softer face. Come right in and look at our elocutionist, Marilla. Doesn't she look lovely? Marilla emitted a sound between a sniff and a grunt. She looks neat and proper. I like that way of fixing her hair. But I expect she'll ruin that dress driving over there in the dust and dew with it, and it looks most too thin for these damp nights. Organdy's the most unserviceable stuff in the world anyhow, and I told Matthew so when he got it, but there's no use in saying anything to Matthew nowadays. Time was when he would take my advice, but now he just buys things for Anne regardless. Buys see. And the clerks at Carmody know they can palm off anything on him. Just let them tell him a thing is pretty and fashionable, and Matthew plunks his money down for it. Mind you, keep your Kirk clear of the wheel, Anne, and put your warm jacket on. Then Marilla stalked downstairs, thinking proudly how sweet Anne looked, and that one moonbeam from forehead to the crown, and regretting that she could not go to the concert herself to hear her girl recite. I wonder if it's too damp for my dress, said Anne anxiously. Not a bit, said Diana, pulling up the window blind. It's a perfect night, and there wouldn't be any dew, and there won't be any dew. Look at the moonlight. I'm so glad my window looks east into the sun rising, said Anne, going over to Diana. It's so splendid. It's so splendid to see the morning coming up over those long hills and glowing through those sharp fir tops. It's new every morning. I feel as if I washed my very soul in that bath of earliest sunshine. Oh, Diana, I love this little room so dearly. I don't know how I'll get along without it when I go to town next month. Just seeing how we're doing time. Don't speak of your going away tonight, begged Diana. I don't want to think of it. It makes me so miserable, and I do want to have a good time this evening. What are you going to recite, Anne? Are you a bit nervous? Not a bit. I've recited so often in public that I don't mind at all now. I've decided to give the Maiden's Vow. It's so pathetic. Laura Spencer is going to give a comic recitation, but I'd rather make people cry than laugh. What will you recite if they encore you? They won't dream of encoring me, scoffed Anne, who was not without her own secret hopes that they would, and already envisioned herself telling Matthew all about it at the next morning's breakfast table. There are Billy and Jane now. I hear the wheels. Come on. Billy Andrews insisted that Anne should ride on the front seat with him, so she unwillingly climbed up. She would much prefer to sit back with the girls, where she could have laughed and chattered to her heart's content. There was not much of it, either laughter or chatter. There was not much of either laughter or chatter to Billy. He was a big, fat, stolid youth of 20, with a round, expressionless face and a painful lack of conversational gifts. But he admired Anne immensely, and was puffed up with pride over the prospect of driving to White Sands with that slim, upright figure beside him. Anne, by dint of talking over her hat to the girls, was occasionally passing a sop of civility to Billy, who grinned and chuckled and never could think of any reply until it was too late. Contrived to enjoy the drive in spite of all. It was a night for enjoyment. The road was full of buggies, all bound for the hotel, and laughter, silver clear, echoed and re-echoed along it. When they reached the hotel, it was a blaze of light, top to bottom. They were met by the ladies of the concert committee, one of whom took Anne off to the performer's dressing room, which was filled with the members of a Charlottetown Symphony Club, among whom Anne felt suddenly shy and frightened, and contrived. Her dress, which in the East Gable had seemed so dainty and pretty, now seemed simple and plain. Too simple and plain, she thought, among all the silks and laces that glistened and rustled around her. What were her pearl beads compared to the diamonds of the big handsome lady near her? And how poor her one wee white rose must look beside all the hothouse flowers the others wore. Anne laid the hat freely and jacket away. Anne laid her hat and jacket away, and shrank miserably into a corner. She wished herself back in the White Room at Green Gables. And guys, I'm going to have to stop, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sleepy. So I keep chopping this up. Oh, goodness. Well, I think I'm going to take a nap. Hope y'all have a great day, and I hope to see it live at 5. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. Bye-bye.